It's a Smod Father checking in. Welcome to Clint's Meadow of Doom. Doing another presentation today. I've covered 90s stoner rock and 2000s stoner rock, but I would be absolutely remiss if I did not cover 2010's stoner rock, which was a truly massive, monumental decade for stoner rock, Heavy Psych. Lots of wonderful music came out in the 2010s. It holds a special place in my heart because obviously I started this channel in the early part of that decade, around 2013, and so I was really exposed to 2010's stoner rock, and it really influenced me and this channel, and so I will always have this real soft spot for that decade of music, especially the first half of the decade. 2010 to 2015 era was just loaded with some absolutely fantastic releases. The 2010s, especially the first half of the decade. I'm just going to go over some of my favorite 2010s stoner psych / doom, but mostly stoner and psych rock releases, ones that I have on CD mainly, and give my reviews that I've written, read those for you. I'm going to start off, I'm going to go in order of release. I'm going to start off with The Machine, okay? Dree, or 3 is as it's known in English, which I actually didn't know until I researched it for this video. Dree actually means 3. It's Dutch for 3. So their 3 album, which was the follow-up to Solar Corona. If you remember 2009's Solar Corona by The Machine, an absolutely landmark album for stoner and psych. One of my all-time favorites. And that one's damn near impossible to find a CD of. I don't even know. I mean, I've seen a few listed over the years, but very few CDs were ever made of that album, and it's always really disappointed me. This was actually released on CD by Electro Hash Records, Color Haze's record label. The guy, Stefan Koglig, he runs that label. One of my all-time favorite record labels. He put out this record. I wish he would also put out Solar Corona, but this record is almost as good as that, but not quite, but it's hard to top an album like Solar Corona. But Dree is a really great album from, of course, the Netherlands, The Machine. Heavy on jam and psych, obviously. They're the ones that do that kind of stuff like Color Haze does, really long jam type, improvised type jams, which are really, really lengthy, sometimes going 10 or 20 minutes long on some tracks. So I wrote a review and I'll read it for you here. It says, "This one wasn't easy to get my hands on, but I'm glad I did. You never know, you might know this little gem of a band from the Netherlands called The Machine. Oh, they're damn good. Fantastic, in fact. I discovered them pretty early in my stoner rock birthing. Along with Color Haze, they were one of my earliest favorites in the stoner and psych genre. They were no doubt responsible in helping to motivate the creation of Smod. Their 2010 release, Dree, is in my stereo, and it's a perfect soundtrack for a hot summer afternoon. Dree was released just 1 year after their absolute masterpiece, Solar Corona. Talk about some serious productivity. Damn good follow-up, especially considering it was so quickly churned out. These guys jam better than just about anyone. Just listen to the aptly titled jam number Sai. Just amazing guitar playing that echoes the best of Hendrix and Caius. First Unique Prime is another example of their jamming capabilities. The last 2 tracks show what The Machine is all about. It's a thing of beauty. Don't sleep on them a moment longer. My favorite tracks from the album are Sunbow, First Unique Prime, and jam number Sai." So just those 2 last closing tracks are about 30 minutes long, and they are jam, I mean, just completely instrumental, jam heavy. I mean, it just takes you in a mesmerizing, soaring journey. A beautiful record. And so that was 2010. Kicking off the 2010s, we also have another classic. Okay, many of you probably know this one. Samsara Blues Experiment, Long Distance Trip. All right. The artwork is, of course, very psychedelic looking. Matches my shirt. Green. Nice, beautiful green cover art. Samsara Blues Experiment, another one of my early favorite stoner psych bands and records. This record is a massive record. Again, another Heavy Psych more metal than The Machine, but similar in that it's based on heavy psych jams. But this is kind of more of a heavy metal. It's got a lot more heavy metal attitude and riffing in it, and they get pretty heavy on a lot of tracks. But it just definitely has those psychedelic flourishes and long jams and trips. Of course, it's called Long Distance Trip. They no doubt named the record because their songs are a trip, and they are. So I'll read the review of this one as well, which I'm sure you've heard this album. Just in case you haven't, it's almost 15 years old, 15 years ago now, so who knows? Maybe some people didn't catch this one yet. It says, today to kick off the week, I've got the debut from the German Masters Samsara Blues Experiment. Long Distance Trip debuted and dropped back in 2010 and quickly cemented SBE as one of the best in the modern stoner movement. This album really is a long-distance trip. Throughout the 6 tracks, they effortlessly glide through space with slab after slab of heavy psych. 6 tracks and over 1 hour of music. Gotta love it. Stoner rock. You pretty much know what to expect. The whole album is good, but it peaks at the end with the beautiful Wheel of Life, a soft acoustic-style instrumental, and the shortest track on Long Distance Trip. This leads into the closer and album highlight, Double Freedom, a 22-minute masterpiece of heavy stoner psych. Yes, Double Freedom is absolutely monumental, an anthem of stoner rock. I mean, Move Over, I Am the Mountain by Stone Jesus. Go listen to Double Freedom. That one is a true masterpiece. Seriously, you have to hear this song. If you haven't experienced the power of Samsara Blues Experiment, start here. Go listen now. My favorite tracks, Center of the Sun, Wheel of Life, and of course, Double Freedom. So yes, this remains their all-time best album to this day. By far, of course, their debut, and a lot of bands peak with their debut album. Very common. Another one that pretty much everyone probably knows, Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. The most doom type of record probably I'm going to feature in this video. It's called Bloodlust, their 2011 second record, I believe. This one is a great album for you fans of occult style and dark, creepy Halloween-themed records. This one is one of the best of the 2010s in that regard, I would say. It just captures that Halloween occult vibe better than just about any record that ever came out at this time. So it's just, for me, I love Halloween. I love horror and occult stuff. I love that whole thing. It's always fascinated me. So this album was immediately a huge draw for me. I wrote a review of it as well. It says, now this was written right around Halloween. It's time to gear up for the weekend. I've got just the album for this late October day. Halloween is creeping up, so it's time to play the Creepers' favorite band. I'm talking about Occult Psych Masters, Uncle Acid, and the Deadbeats, of course. They've got to be one of the finest English groups this decade. How many Uncle Acid fans do we have in the house? Their 2011 cult favorite, Bloodlust, is a dooming my stereo today, and I've been a big fan of these crazy occultists for years. I remember hearing their 2013 follow-up, Mind Control, also a really great album, but not nearly as good as Bloodlust, shortly after it came out, and being blown away. Well, Bloodlust is even better. These guys have such an amazing throwback retro sound. It sounds like some obscure occult garage band from the 70s was transported to this decade, and this is the result. The production is absolutely amazing on all of their albums, but Bloodlust has to be the best of the bunch. Atmospheric, heavy, and melodic in all the right places. Bloodlust is an absolute must-own for any old-school riff worshiper. Don't pass this one up. Get doomed with Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats today. My favorite tracks on the album, Death's Door, Over and Over Again, Curse in the Trees, and 13 Candles. So I really like the tracks where they kind of slow it down and they kind of give you a nice 5 or 6 minute churn and dirge type track where they really have time to just slow it down a bit and just pummel you. But of course, there's another band from England that reminds me a lot of these guys, and it's obviously Electric Wizard, who also were putting out occult-themed, doom-type, retro-type metal around the 2010s as well, and of course the 2000s. I'm sure that Electric Wizard had a huge influence on Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. Now, in 2011, we also had Elders, Dead Roots Stirring. Okay, this fantastic band putting out their debut record, Dead Roots Stirring. All right, another band that hit the ground running with their all-time best album. Dead Roots Stirring is the best Elder album. Elder is still going strong today, but they have not topped this masterpiece. It's another one of those albums with very lengthy tracks, just like the other albums I've been talking about in this video. This one also has a short suite of songs, probably about 5 or 6 songs. Yeah, five songs on this record, and they're all lengthy. Most of them are close to 10 minutes. So it's just another one of those records that really stretches out. Very intricate time signatures and intricate. I mean, it's very complex stoner prog-ish stoner heavy psych. I mean, it's very prog. I mean, you know, Elder, they're very prog. They got more and more prog as they went on. This is probably their least prog release, and it has, I think, the perfect mixture of, you know, prog and more of straight ahead stoner and psych, whereas some of their later albums got a little too heavy on the prog and lost a bit of the rock and kind of the heavy doom psych type stuff that this album had. So that's probably why I prefer this album, being more of a, you know, heavy rocker type, and more not so much just on this way prog, you know. I don't want it to get too prog. I like prog, but only when it's mixed with hard rock rhythms and doomy rhythms and stuff. So this one was a great combination of prog and heavy doomy psych. I'll read the review I wrote. Honestly, one of my favorite bands of this decade. Today it's their 2011 outing, Dead Roots Stirring. Along with their follow-up Lore, Dead Roots Stirring sees the band at the top of their game and peak of their power. It's an excellent mix of psych and stoner rock done with underlining prog structure. 5 lengthy tracks that twist and turn and never once bore. Fantastic vocal work as well. This is just overall a must-have of the modern stoner psych explosion. Get this and Lore and prepare to have your mind blown wide open. Favorite tracks are Gemini and Dead Roots Stirring. Of course, I also bought Lore as well, which I liked only slightly less than Dead Roots Stirring. Lore, I'm sure you've heard Lore. This is a 2015 album. So actually one of the later albums that I'm going to talk about today, almost all these albums are from 2015 or before. Not to say that the second half of the 2010s didn't have good records, but man, all my favorites seem to be in the first 5 years of that decade. I'll read the review I wrote of Lore. Lore is a dark and heavy mix of psychedelic rock, prog, and doom metal, flavored with a heaping of good old-fashioned riff-based US rock and a little bit of a lot of the other musical flavors. A genre-blending oral voyage into mythology, mysticism, and the human condition. I think their preceding album, Dead Roots Stirring, is their best work, but Lore is a must-have as well. Enough said. Go listen to these guys if they've somehow evaded your ear holes. I also want to mention another band, Sons of Otis. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. They're a little underrated. They're not talked about as much as I think they should be. But I picked up this album after being exposed to it due to my love for Small Stone Records, and this was put out on Small Stone Records back in 2012. So I came to Sons of Otis through my love of Small Stone Records. And Sons of Otis is from Canada, and I have to say, they are probably the best doom-oriented band from Canada that I've ever heard. Sons of Otis is legit. I mean, they are very heavy, almost as thick as molasses. Just really, they just pummel you with this dirge, this hypnotic dirge. A very repetitive band. They are almost drone, but they're very spacey, very heavy psych. They don't bore you like some drone does. They're hypnotically repetitive in a good way. And this album really is probably my favorite Sons of Otis album. Seismic. Okay, Seismic. But of course, very lengthy tracks. Almost all the tracks are 7 minutes or so at least. There's a couple shorter ones. There's a cover of Never in My Life. Can't remember the band that made Never in My Life. I know it, I just can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But I like Never in My Life, the original song as well. Is that Mountain? I think it's Mountain. Mountain on their album Climbing, if I'm right. I'm pretty good for remembering that off the top of my head. Mountain, I believe, Never in My Life. Climbing, a very great album, of course, having Mississippi Queen on it. Man, that's an early proto-stoner album. The main attraction of Sons of Otis is when they actually go instrumental. They're a jam band at their heart, and when they slow it down for the jam songs, which they usually have a song on their album that has jam in the title, and they, of course, jam on that song, and they just go crazy long on that song, like, 15 minutes long or whatever, and they just have this bluesy, psych-infused, beautiful riff fest in those jams. And they have Cosmic Jam is the one on this album. They also have another jam on one of their other albums. I remember really liking it as well. I don't remember the exact, Cosmic Jam maybe? I don't remember the exact name. It's been a while since I've listened to it. And PK is another song on this album that also jams and is more kind of an instrumental type of track as well. Another lengthy instrumental. PK and Cosmic Jam are probably the two best songs on this album. So it's an absolutely fantastic doom type album, very sludgy and spacey and psyche. You just got to hear Sons of Otis. They're a very unique band, and they jam, and they're just very doomy. They're great for people who like the doom side of things. Casa Sui, Euphoria Tide. Okay, if you don't know this band, go listen to them. They are very, very fantastic. One of those great bands for summertime. And of course, they made the great Summer Sessions albums. Just a perfect summer atmosphere in this band. So on a nice summer day in June, July, August, whatever, if you put this on, go to the beach or whatever you're going to do, boy, it's good. They're a Danish band, and this was their 2013 album. Yes, their 2013 release, which I think is one of their best albums for sure, maybe their best album. I really like Summer Sessions Volume 1 a lot, so I think it's a tie for me between Summer Sessions Volume 1 and Euphoria Tide, but both are must-haves, and I have both of them on CD. Summer Sessions were released at the end of the 2000s in like 2008, 2009, so I have those as well. The band actually sent me these records. I didn't have to buy them. The band sent me all their records because I helped them promote their music here on this channel. I uploaded Free Ride, their reissue of Free Ride that they put out. They did a reissue of it, and I put that up for them after they contacted me to do it. So this album is, again, you know what you're going to get. Long songs, 10 minutes long, 9 minutes long. It's time for some Casa Sui. You really can't let summer pass you by without giving this band a go. They are a Danish group who specialize in lush psychedelic jamming. We're talking extremely atmospheric and mostly instrumental journeys. Their music is like riding waves in the summer breeze. Today I've got their 2013 release, Euphoria Tide. This is considered a high water mark for the band, and it's hard to argue with that. From the beginning to end, this is Casa Sui at the top of their game. A quick look at the album art and track list gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect. If you're just getting into the band, I'd recommend this as a great starting point to really experience the band doing what they do best. You can't go wrong with any of those. Put your feet up and let Casa Sui take you away. Go check them out. You won't regret it, man. You won't regret it. And especially if you're into kind of saxophone therapy, you like the sax. They put the sax in this band. They have a sax that they include. Really great. I love sax. And there aren't very many stoner psych bands that do saxophone. I couldn't not mention Earthless. Rhythms from the Cosmic Sky is probably my favorite Earthless album, but this is a close second. From the Ages. Okay, 2013, I believe it was released in. We're still very early in the decade. Okay, we're still very, very early in the 2010s. Those first years in the 2010s were just a gold mine, man, a gold mine. I'm going to read the review I wrote of this From the Ages. Again, another jam, very heavy instrumental jam band. Most of these are jam bands. There's a jam theme, and I really love jamming. Love the instrumental stuff. Today I'm cranking up the heat with a little Earthless in my stereo. Today it's their 2013 classic, From the Ages. I know we have many Earthless fans in here. These guys are one of the brightest heavy psych groups of this past decade, no doubt about it. They do instrumental jams with the fury and spirit of Hendrix and other better than just about anyone going today. If you're in the mood for long instrumental psych trips, this is your album. They should always be near the top of your list. I don't like this album quite as much as the previous one, Rhythms from a Cosmic Sky, but that's only because Rhythms was unbelievable. This is as solid as it gets for modern stoner psych. And the artwork is incredible, okay? Typical of stoner psych. Amazing, trippy artwork. My favorite is the album opener, Violence of the Red Sea. That song just rips, and I consider it one of their finest compositions. Uru Rock follows and is a mesmerizing masterpiece. The title track is a half an hour long and maybe just a bit too long, but this is stoner psych that you can't really complain. Every fan of the channel should have Earthless in their collection. Get this and Rhythms and you'll be set. Yes, pretty much. Earthless peaked with their first couple records, just like most of these bands did. Most bands have a very creative spurt at the beginning of their careers. Brant Bjork and the Low Desert Punk Band, okay? After his Brant Bjork and the Bros period in the early to mid-2000s, he formed another little group called the Desert Punk Band. This was released in 2014. from Brant Bjork, of course, the godfather of stoner rock, or one of the godfathers, was probably his last truly masterpiece of an album. I mean, he's still putting out albums over the last 10 years since this album, but they have not been nearly as good as Black Power Flower. Okay, Black Power Flower. So if you're going to listen to one more modern Brant Bjork release that's come out in the last 10 years or so, this is the one to listen to. Okay, this is the one. This is the one. He's getting a little older at this time, and he's kicking butt in his 40s with Black Power Flower. It's time to boogie down. I can't think of anything better than the king of boogie woogie himself, Mr. Brant Bjork. God damn, does this dude just ooze cool. I'm sure you all know the guy if you're in this group. After leaving Kyuss in the mid-90s, Mr. Bjork stayed very active and has had an amazing solo career over the last 20 years, latest being the Low Desert Punk Band. I'm savoring their sole release in my stereo today, Black Power Flower. This stoned out gem was released in 2014 and shows that Brant still has it 20 years post-Kyuss. If you're looking for his best work in this decade, look no further. This one possesses an incredible high-octane brand of desert metal. He really grooves here, and it's some of his heaviest material as well. Heavy on the fuzz, prepare to have your hair blown back. Just a lot of great energy in this one. The first half of the album is particularly strong. Brant continues to churn out solid material to this day. The man is a legend. I doubt he'll match Black Power Flower again. A must-have for any stoner rock fan. That's a fact, Jack. Check it out. Favorite tracks, Controllers Destroyed, We Don't Serve Their Kind, Stokely Up Now, and Buddha Time, Everything Fine. So yeah, the first half of the record is in particular absolutely fantastic. The first 4 tracks are the best tracks on the album by far. That's such a great suite of songs. And like I said, this is probably his heaviest album, at least the heaviest one that I've heard. The most metal, stoner metal, and heavy on the fuzz, and it's just a heavier type of record than most of the record. He's known for his more chill rock, and more mellow and chill type of, he's a chill guy. He's known for the more chill side of things. But this is the record that sounds the most like, some of that early Kyuss that's a little bit heavier from like Blues from the Red Sun. Gonna wrap my CD reviews up with Palm Desert. Okay, this little masterpiece, Pearls from the Muddy Hollow. Palm Desert, a fantastic band, I believe from Poland. Okay. This album was released in 2014. Hard to remember, keep all this straight sometimes, but yes, 2014. Palm Desert is one that was on my channel for a long time. I was an early promoter of this band. They were not getting any love, and I helped them promote their record pretty much right after it was released, within a year or two of it being released. And I believe the next year I had it up already and was helping promote it. So yes, proud to have helped Palm Desert. And they are, I'll read my review, Palm Desert is Poland's answer to Kyuss. Okay, yes, this is a very Kyuss-inspired album. Probably the closest to the Kyuss sound that I've heard in the 2010s. Because that kind of spirit that those early Kyuss albums had. Welcome to Sky Valley, Blues from the Red Sun. The spirit, the feel that those had. The magic, okay, the soul. This album really captures that feel and that soul. Pearls from the Muddy Hollow is rocking my speakers today. Released in 2014, this has always been one of my favorites of the last decade. These guys captured the desert rock era full glory with beautiful atmosphere and that trademark energy that 90s desert rock giants wielded. You have no excuse to pass it up. Go check it out today and blow your little minds to stoner groove oblivion. Favorite tracks on the album, Lucky Bone, Tsunami, Favela, and Forward in the Sun. So yes, some beautiful desert rock here. 20 years after desert rock was really being born in the early 90s, this bad boy came out. There's a couple records that I really wish I had but don't have on CD because they're very hard to find. One is All Them Witches with Our Mother Electricity. I'm proud to say I was the first person to promote this album and this band on the channel way back in 2013, 2014, just after this was released. Our Mother Electricity, yes, their debut album from 2012, all-time favorite album of theirs by far. I know a lot of people like Lightning at the Door more than Our Mother Electricity. Me, I've always thought Our Mother Electricity is so much better than anything they've put out since. If you haven't heard Our Mother Electricity by All Them Witches, go check it out now. Okay, you will not regret it. Some of the best songs, Heavy Like a Witch, the opening track, beautiful song. Just this psychedelic, bluesy, occult sounding stuff. A lot of great psychedelic stuff on it as well. Some of the better tracks, of course, Elk Blood Heart, a beautiful track. And Until It Unwinds, an 8.5-minute, gorgeous, slowed down, softer song. An anthem, if there ever was one from this band. The Restoned, okay, their 2011 release, Analog, again, another early 2010s album. This one very hard to find on physical format as well. I've always loved Analog, though, by the Restoned, a Russian band. They're still together today and putting out records, but I don't think they ever topped Analog. Baron Crane, the shirt I'm wearing here is a Baron Crane. If anyone recognizes this artwork, Baron Crane, another instrumental band from around the mid-2010s as well. Really great stuff. I gotta say, the 2020s has not lived up to what the 2010s were, in my opinion. Not even close. Comparing the first 3.5, 4 years now of 2020s to the first 3 to 4 years of the 2010s, not seeing it, just not as good. I'm sorry, but you know, it is what it is. It's hard to top that. I think there was a lot of momentum coming out of the 2000s and 90s and 2000s. There was a 10 to 20 year period of a lot of great bands, a lot of original stoner rock and psych bands, and I think that carried over into the 2010s with a new crop of musicians that were just starting out in their 20s during that decade. So I think they were close enough to the previous time of the golden age of stoner rock, the beginnings of it. So I think that creativity and that spirit kind of carried over into the 2010s. And that's why the 2010s were so good for stoner and psych rock. So, of course, you saw Baron Crane, okay? If you want to check out more 2010s rock, you can get the SMOD upload list, which has all my uploads from the 2013 all the way through 2019. Okay, so a good 7 years of stoner rock from mostly the 2010s. All the late 2010 stuff is all on there. So if you want even more 2010 stoner rock, my upload list is one that you should get. Just toss me some support on Patreon, sign up on my Patreon, and I will send you that list. 2,000 albums of 2010s, mainly stoner rock, that you must hear. And it's got the Bandcamp links next to those in alphabetical order, listed with the band name, the album name, and the Bandcamp link next to it. So go check that out. And I'll have a link to my Patreon in the description. If you'd rather do a PayPal donation, I'll also link that as well. If you appreciate the channel over the last 10 years and I've helped you out in finding music, please show me some support and toss me a few bucks, and I will send you a very great list with Bandcamp links that you can go find these great albums that maybe you never heard or maybe you've forgotten over the years. You can go find them again. So thanks for watching my 2010s Stoner Rock production. I hope this was an interesting video. I'll talk to you